Hi everyone, today I'm going to assemble my Gray Castle folio kit. This is what it will look like. It has pockets and a couple of inner wings, more pockets. And as we go through this, I'm going to list some tips. One thing to remember when you print your tags, when you print your kit, pages 8, 9, 10, and 11 are the tags, and the kit includes a background to print on the tags first. Most of the pages don't require a background. Most of the pages will have white spaces that will be covered, and we'll go over that. So one of the things that's in this kit are wings. I call them wings because they flip out, and they have 2 score lines. I refer to this in the directions as the flange, just to make it simple. And this is, the cover. This will be the inside cover, this particular page. But I didn't score this one until I could talk to you about it and give you a tip. So the first thing you'll do is print out your folio pieces. And again, you don't need to print any background on several of the folio component pages. And when you print them out, you'll cut them. You'll notice the 2 lines form gussets. I recommend inking the gussets before you assemble the kit so that they don't show up as just white space like this. If you had some 1/4 inch ribbon, you could tie that on there, run it through here, tie it outside here on both sides. I think that would look pretty. If you don't have ink, or if you choose not to ink, just run a strip here, tie it here. That would make a bow here and a bow here. I think that would look cute. But the tip that I have for the gusset when you're scoring it is this is my little scoreboard here. And I hope I can get in close enough to this to show you the score lines, if my camera will stay. Okay. Get in frame. So the score lines are the one closest to the flange here, and then the one farthest from the flange. That's how I reference the 2 lines in the directions. So just lay it on your scoreboard so that the lines do not show up in your finished spine. This one will have to show up here on the crow page. But I am going to score just right on the farthest away side from the flange. Now see, now that's not even on a line. If you can tell, it's between them. That's fine. This is going to just be extra space. This is going to be a little bit shorter. That will work out fine. So I'm going to move from this score ridge. I'm going to move over 2 spaces and score again. And see, I'm not anywhere near that line. That will be fine. Fold over, fold over. So now this first line won't even show in the finished product. It's going to be glued inside. Okay, enough about the score lines. Let's get our directions out. I've cut everything, inked everything, mostly. So here are the directions. Let me get them in the page. You're going to be looking for, and in the final kit, it says on the flange, I went ahead and added that to the description, or to the actual flange. So this is going to be 1C. When you get your kit, it will say 1C. So this is 1A flange. And then the back piece is somewhere. Let's see. When you get it out, when you get it to where you're cutting it apart, I would write down on the back here that this is the back, and make note of which way you want it to go. I'm gonna have it go this way, and it's noted in the kit. So you will lay down to create the base. You'll lay piece 1A, which is the crow. Let's move back up a little bit, get a more general view. So you will lay piece 1A upside down with the white side facing up. And then you will have your back piece right here. Ooh, you need a bigger space. And then you will lay piece 1C, which is your dove, right here. I'm going to make more kits. I actually have a Fairy Children Fairy kit that's going to come out at the same. Naturally, it's already listed in my Etsy shop. So I'm going to show you the easiest way that I found to glue these together. So my instructions say lay them on your workspace, ABC. Make sure that you've oriented all the tops upward. Glue the printed side of the flange to the white side of piece 1B, and this is 1B. And it's in the kit. There's nowhere to put 1B on this side, so when you're cutting it out, just write 1B on the back and note the top. This one, because this one goes either way. All right, so the best way to glue these together is to take the ridge that you made closest to the flange, fold that down, and I'm going to get a glue book. Let's see here. You have that bent where your other score line is underneath. You don't want to glue over that gusset that you've just created. Take your middle piece, 1B, and just butt it up against there, matching the tops and the bottoms. Okay, so you've got that held down in place. Get your glue, and then just run a small bit of glue like this. So while you have that in the top and the bottom butted together, this is the most difficult for me. I'm going to have tendon release surgery next Thursday on my right thumb. So right now I'm not the most coordinated, but you'll butt that up and then fold it over. That will leave your gusset free. All right, so I've got that down. And that will make this. Now you'll do 1C, same way. Fold that down where your gusset is underneath. You're not gonna glue on the gusset. If you've ever had, I can't pronounce it, de Quave's syndrome, it's where your thumb tendon, it's like carpal tunnel, only it's your thumb. It's probably from crafting. I did dislocate my thumb in February, but anyway. Okay, so we're gonna butt that up together And make sure top and bottoms are closely just to the flange side of your ridge. And after you put together a couple of these, you will get the hang of it. So I have to lift this just a hair. Okay, so we're gonna still work with ABC white side up. Now we're gonna go and look for pieces 2A and 2B. And it will say here in the final kit 2A and 2B. But for this one, it doesn't really matter. You can interchange them. I released this kit early to a Facebook group that I'm involved with as a test. I wanted people to test it out, and they did a wonderful job, and they sent me pictures. One woman had placed her flange here, but for this, I'm just going to do it as I have the directions. So we're going to call this 2B and 2A. It may be different in the kit. I went back and at the suggestion of the Facebook group, I labeled the pieces differently. So this also has a score. We're also going to ink, or has a gusset. We're going to ink that. There's one I skipped. And I'm using, for this kit, Tim Holtz Distress ink in black soot, because the colors are black and gray and pink. No real tan or vintage color, so I felt like vintage photo would really not work with this. It's totally up to you. If you had a red, a real beautiful red, that would work amazing. I don't have a red, but you just want to have this covered up so that there's a finished look to it when it's done. Okay, so let's see. I marked this one as 2A. I have my gussets scored. I did not fold them down. And this one I just used a 1/8 inch, but you could also use 1/4 of an inch. Just make these gussets maybe a little bit bigger because they're on the outside. Totally up to you. And when this piece is done and glued in, you will fold it over. Notice I made it bigger to accommodate whatever size gusset you decided on. So when we get ready to trim this, we'll trim it so that the edge butts up against the score line farthest from the flange. But let's get this glued in. So this would be step 3. Keep the base with the white side up on your workspace. Position 2A and 2B so that the score lines you made are closest to the flange on 2A and 2B. They will lay on top of the score lines closest to the flanges on 1A and 1C. Sounds complicated, but it's not really. So here you have your flange bent over. And I'm going to center this vertically. I had one tester that put the pocket at the bottom. That looked great too. Just remember, when you fill your pockets, it's going to be thicker at the bottom if your inner wings are near the bottom. It's totally up to you. And you could make this many different ways. You want to make sure you have it not wonky like that. So let's, and in my directions, there's a circle here that shows how they lay on top of each other. Okay, you'll see that I glued them down one time I wasn't exactly happy. I got this one a little bit crooked, so I'm going to do a little bit better job of getting this one glued down. So when you're gluing it down, you'll want to glue it in the gusset area, vertically this way. So keeping the base white side up on your workspace and not rotated, position pieces 2A, this is 2A, so that your score lines that you made closest to the flange on 2A, that's this one, will lay on top of the score line closest to the flange on piece 1A, right here. So this line needs to lay on top of this line. Fold this over. You can see where I ripped it up to try to do it again. And that's just how it goes. You don't want to go over to the flange side too far. You want to get it right on top. Or just a hair that way will work. Okay, so let's try that. All right, all is not lost. So let's try this one. And I'm gonna fold this over and make lines. I had made lines and now I have to make new lines so that the flanges are meet up and they're not stacked like this. They're just gonna be stacked like this. And which line was it? That was the short line. Okay. Oh boy. Fold over that first score toward the flange. Lay it on top of your score closest to the flange. Just a hair toward the panel side. Line up your line here that you made. Oh, goodness. It looks worse. It's not really this difficult. I just have limited control of this hand. So don't let that scare you. You don't want to, well, there you go, glue it to the flange side of that score line. If anything, you want to go a little toward the opposite end. Here we go. And we're pretty close. We're pretty close. Okay. We've got them positioned. When I say position vertically in my directions, I mean along this way. You could position it at the bottom. And when I released it to a Facebook group earlier for testing, a lady did do it at the bottom, looked perfectly fine. Just know that the bottom of your folio is going to get thicker than the top. That might bother some people because all of your bulk will be at the bottom. I had one lady glued her flange outside so that it was a flap here that flipped out. Totally up to you. And here's that circle that says lay those flanges, those score lines, excuse me, just about on top of each other with the smaller section starting with the number 2 on top of the section number 1, just a hair toward the outer panel area. Glue it vertically. And let's see, once they are glued down, yes, you want to be careful not to glue down this area between these two score lines on your smaller pieces, your number 2 pieces. So now, we're on step 4, almost there. We're gonna fold over these covers to cover the white pieces. Now I've made them longer than they should be. And the reason is, I don't know the depth of your gusset that you're gonna decide on. So you're gonna need extra material or extra paper to allow for that. So I've made a gusset a little bit too thin, but I still have extra paper. So I'm gonna take my little cutting tool and just shave a little off. You can ink it and it will be fine if you take off too much. It will look fine. I just want to get it straight. So let's put this down and, oh, my cutting blade is not sharp. Okay. Okay, we'll get that with some scissors. Oh, do you ever have that happen? Right when you're doing a video. But that's how you learn these little things. Okay. So let's see how that looks. Okay, I am good. My gusset is available for use. My cover is good. I can ink this edge now. Where did I'm just gonna use this. I'm gonna ink this edge a little bit. You don't have to ink it that much, but there you go. It'll fold over. And we'll try the other side. I'm just gonna rotate this. If you rotate it, remember to rotate it back. And how much are we? We are about the same. So let's put that in here. This is so awkward, isn't it? It really isn't hard to put this together, I promise. So for the sake of speed, I'm just gonna zip it through here. Okay. Put my blade in the middle. If your blade's dull, start in the middle and pray. There we go. Oh, goodness. I love that Cricut paper cutter. The blades are very cheap. I had a Martha Stewart one that I really liked, but you cannot find blades. They discontinued making blades for the Martha Stewart paper cutting device. And it, that was upsetting, because if you're gonna make a product, you need to make the consumables for that product. It's like car makers. They're, I think, mandated that they need to make parts for them for so many years after they make the car. But anyway, that's just a little. Okay, so I'm gonna glue this down. You have options when you're gluing this down. You can just glue the side and the bottom and leave this a pocket. You will have in the kit a pocket to go either on this side or this side of the small wing, your choice. But you could use that as a pocket. I'm just gonna close it up. And I'm gonna save glue by not gluing all over. This will just be fine right here. Here we go on this side. I feel like there's a lot of pockets in here already. But you may want more pockets. You could stick a little notepad in there, whatever you want. And fold that down. Okay, now we're ready. We've got to make sure that our base is turned the right way, top that way, white side up. So we have made sure that we have it the right position. Okay, so now we can glue in pockets D and E, and they are in here somewhere. Okay, the pockets are marked. E, that's a tag. C, A, B, where is it? D. Okay, so we're gonna go on to glue in pockets D and E to either side, inside or outside of your small wings. And the pockets are labeled D and E. This will fold under, of course, you won't see that. So just pick whichever side you like and glue them on there. And like I said, I try to score a little inward from the actual score lines so that when I fold them, the score lines do not show. They're folded underneath. That's just how I've always done my kits. So let's go back to here. And you might like this very busy pink here, or you may like it right here. It's your choice. And then you have the not so busy bird, which could go here. I like this. He's flying upwards, not downwards. So I like that, or you could do that. That pocket gets kind of lost on this side, but anyway, so we can glue those on real quick. I'm still in my pajamas. It's after 3 o'clock. I've just been kind of hanging out today. It's a pajama day. All right, so we have that glued down right there. You can take your folder, glue it down. Make sure you haven't glued down what you don't want glued down. I think this kit is a great break from the normal vintage ladies or vintage look. It's not gothic, I don't think. It has the crow, but it's sweet, I think. And I'm going to build more kits on this template so that once you buy a kit and you get to where you're putting it together and you like it, you will have a great idea of how it goes together and it won't trouble you a bit. Okay, so here's our completed kit. There is this piece with the gray castle. I'm using that in my center. It's the right size for that. And then I have, since this piece is shorter, this cover piece is going to be shorter. You'll see. And then this piece is bigger. You'll write on the back that will show which panel piece goes on which panel. Okay, getting ahead. So, keep your base white side up. Make sure it's positioned in the right way, top up. Now we're gonna find pieces. The inside pieces start with the number 2 for the little wings and 3 for the panel. So I'm looking for 3 ABC. That's my B with the castle, so I know it's in the middle. And we have A and B. And I know the short one goes on the far right. I'm just going to set him aside. I've cut it out just a little bit bigger than my outlines, just to make sure I have enough to cover this. I'm going to trim it afterwards. I do need to trim this inside, and I'm going to have it facing this way. On this kit, this will be covered with a pocket, so I want the majority of the flowers over here. So I'm just going to finish cutting this little white strip off, if I can. But I'm leaving a little bit of the white, which I can go over with my black soot if I need to. And it is going to butt up directly next to the score line farthest from the flange. And the easiest way, I have a little tip here. The easiest way to do this is to lay it down, for me, because of my hands, is to lay it down, have it positioned top and bottom, scooch it down just a hair, pull this side up, and make a glue line here, down here. Don't cover that, don't cover that score line, and right here, fold it, smush it down in place, give that just a minute to dry, and then lift it up and do the remaining edges. So by leaving a little bit of white space, it will help me if I've got it just a little bit askew. Because when I go back, I'm going to slice this off, slice this off. This looks good. I'll ink around to cover the white space. Okay, so we're going back this way. Flip that over. Get my shorter piece. And I'm going to make sure I have enough, because I may have to ink this white edge here. But yes, I've got plenty of room. See how much bigger it is? And that's to factor in whatever size gusset you made. If you made a very narrow gusset, your piece may slide in this way, so then you wouldn't have as much extra room. But just know that the extra that you have to cut off of the number 3 pieces are there for a reason. They're there to factor in or compensate for any size gusset that you have decided to use. If you wanted a bigger gusset, you know, you'll have plenty of design. So my rose is going to go up here because this is going to be covered with a pocket. I'm going to trim this off just a little bit. And if you wanted more of the rose, trim off more of this side. Let's see how much I want to trim off. So I want more of the rose. I don't want to take off so much of the rose. So I'm going to flip the rose over here, match that up, and where's a ruler? I'm going to line it up with the score mark closest to the end of the panel, and just kind of make a general line. And give that a cut. Try to keep it straight. I would really rather you use a paper trimmer to make it straight. So see, I have cut off black instead of losing that much of the rose. Does that make sense? Okay, perfect. So now I'm gonna place that down up against, but not over, the score line. Match your top and bottom. I can't see my top very well, but I'm right-handed, so let me turn it this way. I don't know what I'll do without my right hand next week, but I'll probably just lay on the couch, catch up on some TV. I have HBO Max, so if you guys know a good series to start while I'm laying up for a few days, tell me in the comments and I'll watch it. Okay, so here we go. We're smoothing it down just to the outside of your score line. And look, that gives me a little bit more to trim. That's perfectly fine. I wanted to give you some extra, I didn't get it exactly, but black ink will help. And, you know, this is just for me, for video purposes. That's the easiest way I have found to glue that down in place. Okay, so you'll want to trim off the extra here and here. Your centerpiece, which would be 3B. I've done the same thing. I've left a little sliver on this side. Got that kind of askew. You want it to be right between your gusset lines. And here it's a little too big. I'm gonna shave off about 1/8 of an inch on one side. So let's take this white piece off with a paper trimmer. Hopefully it works. I just like to make allowances with the paper for people that, you know, nothing really has to be precise in this kit. Some people are precise people and some people are not. And your gussets, I mean, that's kind of a variable. But since we have black ink from the gusset over, I have to take a little more off. Yeah, you want to be able to close it and have this one close as well, so you're not covering either of your gussets. So let's just move it over a hair. That looks good, the top. Okay. Oh my. And again, match top and bottom. And again, the easiest way I have found is to hold it down, peel it back, glue, and the glue will spread, so you'll be okay. You can go back later and tack it down if it doesn't get exactly. Just main thing is you don't want to glue a piece upside down and then realize it later. So that's why it's good to write top on these panel pieces, because they're not printed on there like the pocket labels are. Okay. All right, so we have that. This covers the castle. They sort of meet up. You could do them like this. Totally your choice, totally your choice. That's the freedom of this kit. You have pockets A, B, C, and you have panels A, B, C, and they go on there. Just glue those down like so. This one, because I don't know how big your wings are gonna be, Make sure I get my pockets labeled. Yep. You may have to trim off one edge. Just make that corner and you'll have your gusset for your pocket. Because again, I don't know how big your gusset's gonna be, how much you're gonna need trimmed off, but you have the basic pattern. So this is A, that looks good. Whoop. You want to glue this time, or this side right here, so nothing gets stuck. And a little more here, Lisa, goodness. Okay. And of course, don't glue over the part that you're going to have to trim when you get done, or your gusset. So that's pocket A. Pocket B. And this was on a page with some tags, so it ended up having a printed side. Make sure that fits. That looks good. I truly think it's an easy kit once you get the hang of it. And again, I'm not going over the gusset area or the score lines. Kind of get that straight. And that's it. Once you get this pocket glued down, let's see how. It's gonna need just, it's gonna fit, no. Let's go ahead and trim it just a little bit. I make a new score line right beside this one on the next score ridge. Maybe let's go over two. Let's go over two. There you go. It's modified. No big deal. If you're new, don't let that scare you. And if you're new to junk journaling or folios, welcome. It's wonderful, expensive, time-consuming, but so much fun. So much fun. And the things that, oop, glue my table, that you can create are, you know, in your imagination. Watch videos. That's what I did. I for months before I got started, just watched videos. I was laid up, so I couldn't really do anything. But, so I'm gonna kind of put this down about the same level as my A pocket over there. I didn't match up my B pocket very well. I think that looks good. It's got the flower here, the flower here. All right. So you have these flips. The dove, I'll need to cut this down, ink it. This side, I'll need to cut it down, ink it, cut this off. But then you have lots of different cards to put in here, anywhere. And if you had red or black ribbon, that's the back of the cards. You could use your hole punch, put an eyelet in there. There's dove, doors, flowers. I think that's azalea, peony, and roses. Another dove, a crow. Well, he's beautiful. Black ribbon on him. That'd look good. Horse. This could go in your castle. But the reason you want to have a back side to these, and I'll show you, and I did show in the beginning, if you stick one of these cards in a pocket, of course this is too tall. There are shorter tags in the kit. You're going to have this side showing. So you want something, ink it with a stencil if you don't want to print on the back or whatever. And depending upon how you placed your tags vertically, if you find that there's some that don't fit, they're too tall, just shave the bottom off. I mean, it's that simple. Just shave the bottom off. These wider ones fit great. And so let's see, that's it. There's also some tabs. If you wanted to put the tabs on top of the tags, like that. That's pretty self-explanatory. Or if you wanted to put a tag, one of my testers put the tags here, here and here to use to open the wings. That was brilliant. It also comes with some tiles, and I didn't include words. I don't know what your theme is going to be, but everybody has words. And I'll tell you what I do. I have a ton of books, old books. So I go through and look for words. This says at the end of each act. I mean, that leaves it kind of open. In front of the, and then you can have, you know, whatever. But I like to use these, ink them. This is cute. What does it say? Laughing crowd swaying back and forth. I would tear off this when and use it for something else. You know, this is from an activity book. You know, just cut them out and use your own word tiles. Make your own word tiles. Anyway, you can sit there and watch TV and do it. Or Tim Holtz, wonderful stickers that he has. Of course, they cost money. If you have an old book, just sit there and go through it. I have lots of old, what do you call them? Prayer books. Cut those out. If you're gonna do Tim Holtz, see, I inked all these in vintage photo. That wouldn't look right. I'd have to use one of these, ink it in black. But you get the drift. You get it. I hope you have fun. And if you build this kit, I would love to see pictures of what you do with it. I'm always amazed at how people think outside of the folio and come up with all kinds of neat stuff. So there you have it. Gray Castle Folio. I hope you enjoy it. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.